Hey guys, feeper here back with another video for you. In my last video, I talked about if Final Fantasy XIV has a predictability problem, and in that video, I mentioned that there were some things in relation to gear that I wanted to talk about in a separate video. Gear and acquiring gear in 14 is something that I think needs some real improvement, and in this video, I kind of want to give my thoughts as to why I don't like the current system and what I think they could do to change it. So, is gear boring in Final Fantasy XIV? Let's get into it. So when I talk about gear and gearing, I'm mainly referring to raid gear and savage content, but I also think that just gearing up in general as you level suffers from this as well. Let's start out with my issues with the actual gear itself. At the end of the day, gear in Final Fantasy XIV is pretty much just base stat increases. I mean, the only difference between an eye level 60 chest piece, let's say, and an eye level 500 chest piece is the amount of stats it gives you and the level required to equip it. Now, you could argue that in pretty much every game ever, gear is just better stat increases. And while, yes, that's true, I think there are many other games and other MMOs that have gear systems that give you more than just, say, higher crit chance. Let's take set bonuses, for example. Many games have gear like this. WoW used to have tier sets. The Monster Hunter games have different set bonuses if you wear enough pieces of one monster set, in addition to having skills on all of them, so you can mix and match to make different builds. Guild Wars 2 has items that you can put into gear, kind of like materia. They're called sigils. They have a multitude of effects, such as more condition damage, which is dot damage in that game, or making you harder to CC. That works really well with the way that they've designed their classes, so that every class can kind of do every single thing. So you just kind of change your talent points, and then you change your gear, and then now instead of being a damage dealing warrior, now you're a tanking warrior. I think these added effects make the gear and getting the gear more exciting and fun because it actually changes your gameplay. The problem that 14 runs into with this is that the game is so measured out, it's so planned out, it's so structured that it's kind of hard to incorporate a set bonus that would say make Trick Attack have a 10-second shorter cooldown, because then it doesn't align with the rest of your party, so it's actually worse in that scenario. However, I do think that there are still some things that they can do with gear. What if, say, there was some set bonus for warrior where if you had all the pieces or enough pieces, or whatever the case may be, you had like a 15% chance that every time you used Infuriate, it would just reset the cooldown of that ability. I don't think that this would really change warrior's rotation in a bad way. It would just allow you to get more inner chaoses out. I think that could be cool. It changes up your rotation a little bit, but it doesn't really detract too much from the tight strictness of your gameplay. What if there was a set bonus for Ninja where you could use Hide in combat every 3 minutes or something, so you could Trick Attack out of that and reset all your mudras instead of having to use Suiton to do all that stuff? Again, I haven't really thought much about the consequences that these two examples could have, but again, I also came up with these like 10 minutes before recording this video. They're just some ideas of things that they could do besides just more crit. I think gear having effects like these would be beneficial, and it could, just slight changes to your gameplay would really make it feel like getting this set bonus or getting this one item, it feels better. If there's this one item that's going to make your rotation more enjoyable and change it up, when you get that, it's like, okay, cool. Like, now I want to go back in and I want to try out this new rotation, see how this new gear piece affects how I play the game. Much more rewarding and much more cool than just, oh, great, I have 100 more determination now. That's fun. So in terms of the gear itself, I think that they should do something where the gear changes your gameplay in some, even if it's just a small way. Maybe it's just one ability has a random proc attached to it, or if it lowers the cooldown on something or makes some other previously unused ability usable now. Just something a little different, something else besides just, okay, cool, I have my full BIS, except I don't change it all. It's just my parse is higher. So next up, I want to talk about the way and the methods in which you get gear, because oh boy, do I hate tomestones. Now, as I mentioned in my last video, part of the reason why I don't like tomestones is because of the weekly cap. I think it's just a weekly chore that artificially prolongs gameplay and isn't really fun, and it's a problem that many MMOs, especially subscription-based ones, run into. But holy shit, do I hate the tombstone gear. At least with the Savage gear, again, right now, yes, it's just stat increases, but I had to actually work for that gear. I had to learn this fight, I had to go through the fight multiple times, and I had to roll for it and get this gear. And I actually did challenging content, keyword challenging, to get this gear. Whereas the Tombstone gear, you just do these really easy repetitive dungeons, and after X amount of time, you get your BIS chest piece. Now, yes, I know that the upgrade mats for the tome gear come from Savage, but actually getting the piece, half of getting that piece comes from easy content. It doesn't really matter. I don't feel good when I upgrade my 390 chest piece or my 490 chest piece to 500. Like, that doesn't feel rewarding because I got it from doing my expert roulette. Like, that's boring. Half of pretty much everyone's best in slot gear comes from these dungeons essentially, and I'll say it again, it doesn't feel good. I know one reason they do this is to time gate everything so people don't have their BAS in like a month or two. But part of me also thinks that, maybe if you're clearing the entire raid tier week 1 or 2, maybe you deserve to get your BAS a little bit earlier than everybody else. Not that that's not what happens now anyways, but it's still being artificially time gated just to keep you playing for a couple extra weeks because it's capped per week. I would much rather have all the gear come from the Savage raids, or just have the Tombstone gear be acquired from actually difficult content instead of just, again, artificially adding playtime. Once again, Square, I'm just saying, Savage level 4-man dungeons, I'm just throwing it out there. Could be good, could be fun. I think if they're going to keep the system the way it is, they should make the way you get the tome gear at least somewhat difficult, or honestly just get rid of the whole system and just have all the gear come from Savage. Now, if all the gear comes from Savage, then we have to worry about, well, what if they don't give us the correct stat distributions? Although if that's the only way to get the endgame gear, it won't really matter. That'll just be the BIS anyways. One thing I think they could do with this is, say you get all the gear from Savage, and if it doesn't have all the stats you want on it, maybe you can re-roll those stats, and maybe that's where the Tombstones come in. That could be another exciting option. Who knows? But to recap, I think that the gear in the game needs to have some sort of extra feature to it besides just giving you 100 more strength or whatever it is. I mean, it just doesn't feel really rewarding to get your gear except for maybe the weapon, because it's just the most obvious and easy to see increase to your damage. But I would like to see something change with the way I play the game depending on if I have my full BAS gear or not, or if I have some sort of item. If you look at old school, obviously this is a different game design, but World of Warcraft has trinkets and things that change the way that you play. They give you, in classic WoW, there's a hunter trinket that literally resets like every ability that you have. I'm not saying that they should maybe go with things like that, and honestly I don't think they should, because I don't think that would really work very well in 14. Because again, 14 is very structured, it's very planned out. Everything's happen on these 30 and 60-second intervals for a reason, because it lines up with your rotation. But at the same time, I do think that they can get more creative with the gearing system that they have. And I also think that the way we get gear isn't very exciting, as I've been saying throughout this entire video. But that pretty much wraps this video up. What do you guys think? Is gear boring? Do you like the current systems? Do you not like them? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, if you all want to see me play Final Fantasy XIV, as well as other games such as Monster Hunter, live, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/feeper7. Link is in the description. We're currently procking on Shiva, so be on the lookout for that. And other than that, I will see you all in the next one. Peace.